the advantages to just the technology on a client-server system or a web-based system as opposed to a client-server system. What you don't realize when you buy a client-server system is they're selling you software that is built in the language that is available to them in that day and time. Software language changes drastically, and every year the speed of change in software language changes even faster. So it's accelerating. You know, some systems that are out on the market right now, they're now telling you they're never going to be certified, quote unquote. And that's just because they don't have the capability, because the language they built the software in 10, 15, 20 years ago is just not capable of configuring to the requirements of the certifications that need to be there. So that server, those types of systems, you know, imagine how bad they are today, how bad they'll be even 5, 10 years from now. You definitely don't want to be buying them, not because they're not certified, but because the technology that they're built on is just that antiquated. So when you're buying a client-server system, you have to keep that in mind, that the technology will be that. Think of Google. You know, they started out with just a search engine. Now they have Google Mail, Google Documents, Google Calendars, Google Glasses. They have all kinds of amazing products out there, Google Voice. It's because the capability has changed over time, not because Google just keeps on growing, but that the actual language which Google uses has changed over time. So a client-server system is only going to be as good as the day you buy it. And that's the point. And that's why they typically only charge you a big bunch of money up front and for updates, because they know ultimately they're not going to be able to justify their price. So the client-server systems today that you know that are not even going to bother trying to be certified because it's not, they can't even afford the cost of upgrading the language their software is built in. That's one thing. The systems that are telling you they're better than that are client-server systems right now, those are the systems that 5, 10 years from now are going to be in the same position that those other non-certified systems will be. Right? So that they're going to be in that same situation 5, 10 years from now. Now, with a web-based platform, a lot of people don't realize this, that the technology, just like Google, has evolved over the years, and you don't see a difference when you're getting online to Google. But literally, the language it's built in is on the back end changed. The user interface may or may not change that much, but what the capability and the power of that language is changing on the back end. So the software, when you look at Genesis, the software that you see in front of you is one thing. The software that is actually behind the scenes being built is changing. Literally what we built 8 years ago, the language we used 8 years ago and the language we have today is two totally different things. You could never do that with a client-server system. So what does that do for us? That gives us whole new worlds of possibility going forward in a whole bunch of different fronts, whether that's integrations or research or a whole bunch of other things, which I'm not going to go into too much here, but the point here is that technology changes over time. You don't want to be in a position with a client-server system 5, 10 years from now where it was good for you on the day you bought it, but 5, 10 years from now, the systems that are out, especially the web-based platforms, are so far advanced because they were able to change with the times. You don't want to be in that position where you have to start the whole search for software all over again. So again, web-based wins.